Hi guys, the likes of the DUP who campaigned for Brexit and voted for Brexit are now constantly complaining about it and want others to fix the problems leaving the EU has caused to the United Kingdom. It's also deeply frustrating that current members and ex-members of the DUP can turn up on shows in Great Britain and be seen as some impartial experts on Northern Ireland, which results in them being unchallenged when they talk absolute twaddle. Here was former DUP leader Arlene Foster talking such twaddle and going unchallenged, so I had to step in.
It needs to be dealt with.
And Northern Ireland is being treated differently to the rest of the United Kingdom.
Yes, it is.
Because it adjoins Ireland, which is still in the European Union.
Yes, and of course that could have been dealt with, and Priti Patel says this in her piece, which she published overnight. It could have been dealt with very easily through alternative arrangements, through intelligence, through trusted traders being set in place.
That's what's required as part of the Windsor Framework. The Windsor Framework contains a section where it talks about exporters from Great Britain being able to sell into Northern Ireland and not have checks carried out because they reach a particular standard. They're respecting particular requirements. See, what's really frustrating about the DUP is that they will demand something, the UK government and the EU will take them at face value, take those requirements at face value, and then they will try to implement something like that in order to pander, maybe not pander, but to satisfy the unionists in Northern Ireland. But the problem with the DUP is that they're never happy. They're only interested in creating problems. They're not interested in finding solutions. They're not saying, this is a problem, let's work together to find a solution. No, that's not the DUP. And anyone who knows anything about the DUP understands that as well. They're the party of no. So the DUP said, why don't you have these trusted trader schemes? Well, that's basically what it is within the Windsor Framework. If you want to sell goods to Northern Ireland, you can sell them through the Green Lane if you reach particular requirements. And this is a cost for British businesses. It's not a problem for Northern Ireland businesses. This is a cost that British businesses have to pay extra because of Brexit that Arlene Foster campaigned for in order to sell into Northern Ireland. This is a consequence of Brexit. Now, if they don't, then they have to go through the red lane where they will be checked.
But instead, the Government of Ireland and indeed the European Union used Northern Ireland basically as a weapon against the UK for having the temerity to leave the European Union.
We're back to this old nugget. I hate repeating myself, but we have to repeat ourselves when it comes to the DUP. And the likes of GB News, they don't understand Northern Ireland. So they're relying on somebody who's obviously impartial when it comes to Northern Ireland. The EU is not punishing Great Britain or Northern Ireland or the United Kingdom for leaving the European Union. At the beginning, the EU didn't fully understand the consequences of the UK leaving the European Union when it came to Northern Ireland. It required the Irish government to step in and say, wait a minute, remember the Good Friday Agreement. So what's the problem with the Good Friday Agreement? I've mentioned this before. Of course, it requires the reduction or elimination of infrastructure on the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. That's a requirement of the Good Friday Agreement. So if there was a border on the island of Ireland, you would need infrastructure. If you're checking goods, you need infrastructure. There was all this stupid rubbish from Jacob Rees-Mogg about drones and stuff like that. No, you need infrastructure on the border. If there is infrastructure, then it would have to be protected because there's a risk that that infrastructure could be attacked by dissident Republicans or by whoever. So the solution was to put the border in the Irish Sea between Great Britain and Northern Ireland because there are fewer checks, fewer crossings, fewer places where there would need to be checks carried out. There are over 200 border crossings between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Can you imagine the infrastructure there you would require? And of course, well, the DUP wanted a hard border on the island of Ireland. They didn't care about the consequences of that. So they're upset with the EU saying, okay, we need to have a border. Where do we put it? Well, we'll have to put it between Great Britain and Northern Ireland because that's the only viable solution.
And we in Northern Ireland are suffering as a result of that.
How furious are people in Northern Ireland that you are being treated, in a sense, you could say, second-class citizens?
Well,
they're not oh my goodness, they're not second-class citizens. The people of Northern Ireland are not affected by this. The people of Northern Ireland can still claim British citizenship. They can still claim Irish citizenship. This is nothing to do with the people. We're talking about goods, frigging goods, moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. Why is this so difficult for people to understand? Like, you need to stop listening to the DUP. You need to stop listening to the TUV. You need to stop listening to Arlene Foster, because these people are not interested in actually being honest about this. They're not interested in presenting a problem and a possible solution. They're only interested in creating problems. They're only interested in misleading people in Great Britain.
Well, people get very annoyed when they try to order something from Great Britain, as they do online, and they're told, no, we don't deliver to Northern Ireland. They get very upset, and coming up to Christmas, it happens more and more.
What sort of products are they?
This has always been the case. This is not a Brexit problem specifically. Now, there are more consequences as a direct result of Brexit. Remember, this is Brexit we're talking about. You know, what Arlene Foster and the DUP campaigned for. They campaigned for it. Now they're upset about the consequences. But there have always been restrictions on goods moving to Northern Ireland. Restriction in the sense that businesses in Great Britain don't want to pay the extra cost. Like, there are parts of Scotland where it's difficult to order goods from other parts of the United Kingdom. I think also in Wales, because of the actual transport costs. This has nothing to do with bureaucracy. It's nothing to do with taxes. It's nothing to do with the European Union. It's actually down to cost. Because imagine you're in Manchester and you order something from London. Now imagine somebody who's in Derry, Londonderry, Belfast, Portadown, or someone in the Orkney Islands. Like, the cost of transporting something from London to there is much more expensive than, for example, London to Manchester. That's why some particularly small businesses will say, look, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell to Northern Ireland because it's just not feasible. I can't keep it as, I can't have free shipping. I can have free shipping to Manchester, but I can't have it to Derry.
Whole range of products, because a lot of people in Great Britain, if they're a small business in Great Britain, cannot be bothered with the paperwork that's needed to send stuff to Northern Ireland. So although they could send it, they think, no, I'm not bothering about that. I can't, it's taking up too much of my time. I would have to employ somebody to do the paperwork. Why would you do that? So they're just themselves stopping delivering to Northern Ireland, and that's a real
Why? Because of Brexit. So before it was just the cost. Now there's the cost and there's the paperwork. The paperwork is a result of Brexit. The Brexit that Arlene Foster and the DUP campaigned for. I notice here no challenge from GB News, no challenge from the host, no challenge like, wait a minute, didn't you campaign for this? But this isn't the type of Brexit that we wanted. Yes, but this is the Brexit that people told you would happen. People told you there would be problems. People back in 2016 were telling the likes of the DUP, wait a minute, if the UK leaves the European Union, what's going to happen to Northern Ireland? And the response was, stop scaremongering. That's the response from the DUP. How dare you scaremonger? How dare you challenge the idea that the UK can leave the European Union? You just want us to stay. Oh my goodness. Somebody has to challenge this. I feel like I'm one of the only people, not the only one, but one of the only people challenging the DUP over this. They're being dishonest. They're trying to present this idea that Brexit was a success, but it's not succeeding enough because it's not been implemented correctly. Or that the EU has thwarted Brexit in some way. Not that we actually lied to people, that we told them that everything would be fine, when in reality it wouldn't be. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.